will basically allow us to send you an email whenever this is over, so that if you need to look at any of this later on, you can. So it's kind of like, as a resource going forward. I'm going to try and make this, as, light and quick as that I'm either going too fast or something that I'm saying needs a little bit more explanation. Like I said, please stop me, because this seminar is intended to help you. And the idea is that whatever knowledge that you get from here, you can actually apply it immediately after the workshop in your job search strategy, as well as in getting a job, nailing it, and all of that. So further ado, let's dive into it. So this is a graphic of what success looks like. So if everyone can see this, it essentially shows an iceberg. And as you may know, what you see on the surface is not the 100% view of the iceberg. So the iceberg is actually a lot bigger than what you just see above the surface. So how that relates to you is that in order for you to reach the pinnacle of, it requires a lot of work and you need to do the work, and of course what the right can reach, the pinnacle, whatever that, a promotion, a new job, like my dad once told me, he said, son, it's hard work and 90% perspiration. So I mean, have ideas and be a dreamer, and that's just a few of the companies that I've worked with, over the years. Like I said, both with Fortune 500 companies as well as regional and local companies. So I have a sense of, what people are looking for, how the employer. So the job search process, where to look. So in order to understand the job search process, we need to understand the job search continuum. So what does that mean? It means, what are the must-haves? People earlier thought that social media is just child's play and it's only kids are on social media, but that isn't the case. That's actually changed tremendously. More so to the fact that teens and tweens and millennials actually aren't on Facebook. They're on Snapchat. Just as an example as to, and everybody else is on Facebook, and the data shows that. So if you look at ages from 25 to 55, all of those people in those age groups are all evenly on Facebook. They're on Facebook, they're on LinkedIn, they're on Twitter and Instagram, almost evenly across age groups. So this means that these are the places that, this is where the crowd is. This is where your recruiters are. So your audience, the people that you're trying to engage, are the recruiters, the people from HR, the people that are in the first layer of your job search, because those are the people that will call you for your phone screen. Those are the people that you'll probably meet first in person for the first round of interview. And after that, of course, you'll meet with your hiring manager and people like that. So those people are all on these media. So you really want to make a good impression with them. And it helps that they know that you're in a place where they are. Because then they know that, okay, so this person knows the same things that I know, we're on the same page, and as you know, people like familiarity, right? So if you're familiar with someone, chances are you might get along, chances are you might work great together, things like that. So those basic similarities are what you're trying to build on in your job search process, so that when you actually get into the job search, when you're in consideration for the job, the person you've already checkmarked, yes, I'm on social media, I'm on the correct social media, I'm using it correctly, all of these. And I'll get to more details about what all of this means. And this other graph shows you that LinkedIn, and you asked about LinkedIn and I'll answer it. So LinkedIn is gaining popularity with millennials. So what this means for you is that since millennials are basically anyone from 18 to 24. Those people are considered millennials. Now, if those people are on LinkedIn, and first of all, let me just take a step back. What is LinkedIn? So LinkedIn is a social network similar to Facebook, but you can think of it as a more serious version of Facebook. It's a place where, just like on Facebook, you have your wall and your feed and your posts. So people post stuff, but they don't post like random stuff. They don't post about the frappuccino they had in the morning, or they don't post about somebody's breakup or somebody's bad hair day. They don't post that kind of stuff. They post business-related stuff. They post stuff about what is the trend in their industry, their news about them, like they presented at a certain conference. This is the latest update for our service. This is how the business can benefit, things like that. Like basically business, industry, news-related stuff is what people post on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is a platform that allows you direct access to employers and recruiters. And this actually sort of takes away the layer that exists on traditional job search platforms. Like, for example, on Career Builder, Monster, Indeed, there's so many other job boards out there, Simply Hired, etc. So when you post a reply to a job post on any of these places, you submit your resume and then that's it. You don't know whether anybody saw it, what was the response, what happened after that. But on LinkedIn, you have direct access to the recruiter, because these people post specific job requirements on LinkedIn. You can directly email them, directly message them. So the conversion time is a lot better, and you have a much higher chance of success if you're on LinkedIn, because you have direct access. There's no like middleman or intermediate layer similar to a Career Builder or a Monster or something like that. And why this data is relevant is because if millennials are also now increasingly using LinkedIn, it means that there's more competition for everyone. It means that there's a new set of people that previously weren't there that's now there. And now they're also competing for, for various different kind of jobs. So this just helps you understand the importance of being on LinkedIn, and in order to be competitive and to stay competitive. So, like I said, why LinkedIn? So this is what LinkedIn looks like. So LinkedIn, it's a place where you have something like an executive summary about yourself. It's a small blurb that describes to readers who you are. So I'll just read briefly, my summary. It says Rajiv is the co-founder, sales director at RSquare Media, a New York-based boutique advertising agency offering bespoke solutions to clients on the East Coast. Rajiv has over a decade of experience solving problems for clients at different stages of their business cycle in Asia and North America. His consulting and advisory work has encompassed industry verticals like entertainment, retail, etc., blah, blah, blah. So that's just, that's kind of like the highlights or the snapshot of what somebody will read when they're, let's say, considering me for a job after I've applied for the job. So yes, they look at my resume, but then they'll also look at my profile on LinkedIn to get a deeper view as to who I am as a candidate. So stuff like this gives more depth and it gives more texture and context to you as a candidate for a specific job. And on LinkedIn, it allows you to upload pictures. It allows you to upload video. As you can see over here, if you did some, volunteer work, you can, mention that. You did some non-profit work. You did some community service. You helped somebody out. You helped build a house of somebody, after Hurricane Sandy or some, anything that showcases a different dimension to you as a person and as a candidate is something that you can bring to life on LinkedIn. So that's the reason why LinkedIn is really, really, critical for as a component in your job search strategy. Your link to a place to sit. So LinkedIn, it's something similar like your online professional portfolio and resume. And LinkedIn also is a place where you can have your supervisors, you can actually pass that around, both of them. Yeah. So LinkedIn is also a place where you can have your peers, your co-workers, your bosses, your managers post a public recommendation for your work. And this is really valuable because usually whenever you look for a job, they'll say, please provide 3 references, Now let's say you provide, some person that you thought was like your best friend on the job, or somebody that was your cheerleader. Yeah. You're the best thing since sliced bread. You're amazing, awesome, you're fabulous. Okay, great. And you give Mary, Jane, and Joseph as your 3 references. Now it turns out that either Mary doesn't remember you, or Mary now thinks a different way about you, or whatever, and then they say something that does not really help you, And then what's supposed to help you in this way, then kind of goes this way, So you want to, by having somebody publicly endorse you on LinkedIn, it's kind of like a security that if that person has publicly endorsed you, then when you give them as a reference, they definitely are going to say really good things about you, as they've stated publicly. So, go ahead.
If you already have recommendation letters that you give to you, can you also put that on LinkedIn?
Absolutely. So the way that you would do that is you would essentially scan that letter and upload either the PDF or the JPEG image of that scan, and put it on your LinkedIn profile. So I mean that's the way that you would do that. And does anybody have any questions? Okay. So
white ones. Is this a job? This your company? It's about you? Your
yes.
company?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why it really helps if you are really active on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn allows you to get to first of all be connected to people from as far back as is possible. So even from like your college professors, your high school teachers, your people that you worked with, even at a temp job, part-time job, anything, because any kind of recommendation from anyone is valuable, because that's somebody saying that this person has certain qualities, certain traits, he's really good, easy to work with, honest, high level of integrity, sociable, team player, things like that most employers are looking for from any person. Because employer, the way they think is, can this person fit into my organization? Can this person integrate properly, so that after the integration they can actually increase the productivity, give me more sales or increase the work output, or whatever the case is. So all these recommendations kind of play into that, because if somebody is saying that you're really good at something, you're really honest, easy to work with, good communicator, things like that, then the employer already knows that those are things they don't have to worry about. And that's what employers look for, having to not worry about things. And this kind of helps you help them hire you. So that's kind of like how it works. Because you have to make it really easy for them to say, yes, I want to hire you. Because I think this is a really good person, he's publicly vetted or she's publicly vetted, and I think this is the person to go for. So what's your LinkedIn strategy? So these are the things to remember as to, just by signing up with LinkedIn, which is free, just like Facebook, you use a username, your email and password, and then you sign up, and you have a profile. You need to make sure that this profile is updated. You list the various, jobs and positions you've had, just like you would on your resume. The period, the name of the company, what you did there, and also most importantly what you achieved. Because I'll actually get to that in a little bit, but when you talk about yourself, you have to essentially blow your own trumpet, because if you don't, nobody else is going to, So you really have to have, it's good to be humble. I'm all about humility, but in the job search process, you have to be a little bit aggressive in the sense of you got to really see your best and push it out there. Because if you don't, how do you expect the employer to kind of get into your mind and figure that out? They're not. They just have literally seconds to take a decision initially as to whether you're a candidate, a yes or a no. So you got to really put your best game, your A game. You got to bring your best to the table and leave nothing behind. And I'll get to that in a little bit as well. So as far as what your LinkedIn strategy should be, you should make sure you connect with all your peers, colleagues, supervisors, teachers, everyone. Because in order for anyone to recommend you on LinkedIn, they first need to be connected to you on LinkedIn, just like it is on Facebook. Only somebody that's your friend can then, technically post on your wall, for example. So LinkedIn is very similar to Facebook in that regard. So you must reach out to these people either offline or through LinkedIn. You can search them by their name or by the school that they went to, or things like that. And after you've established the connection with this person or persons, later on ask for a recommendation when the time is right. So it shouldn't be like, hey John, long time no see. Hey, let's connect on LinkedIn. Oh, and can you give me a recommendation? No, it doesn't work that way. This is all relationship building. Even on LinkedIn, even if you've known that person in some capacity, you got to play the slow game as far as this goes. You got to first reach out and say, hey, let's connect on LinkedIn. I want to keep in touch, and then just casually keep in touch with that person. On a daily, maybe not daily, maybe weekly, monthly basis. And then when the time is right, ask them, so I'm looking for a job, so can you help me out by, giving me a recommendation on LinkedIn? And most likely the person will say, yeah, absolutely. Because in those weeks and months that you've been just reaching out and saying, hi, hello, what's up, anything, you're in that person's memory, you're top of mind. So when you actually reach out and say, hey, I'm looking for a job, can you help me out? The person knows who you are because of the recent communication, the recent engagement that you've had, the recent interaction that you've had with that person. So it becomes easy. He's not going to think, who's this? Who? Like, what? You don't want that reaction. You want to be like, oh, of course, absolutely. I love it. So that's the way that you use LinkedIn. Also, another thing is people love quid pro quo. That means what you receive, you want to give too. So when you say, hey, can you give me a recommendation, and in the same breath, or while you're typing this or speaking it, say, I'd love to give you a recommendation as well. Can I? May I? So people love that, because first of all, it's fair. If you're asking for something, it's only fair that you give back. And secondly, people love to be rewarded as well. And also, once someone commits to writing a recommendation that is publicly posted, you can safely list them as a reference because it's public record at that point that this person said good things about you. Because if that person says something negative about you, after having posted something publicly that's good, then his reputation or her reputation goes down the tube. Because the recruiter will think like, what's wrong with this person? You just publicly endorse this person, you're telling me something else, what's wrong with you? So you're safe. It kind of protects you. So these are some, interesting facts about where to be and why. So this is an interesting statistic. I don't know if you realize this, but when I, found out, I was actually shocked myself. So the statistic is that Facebook beats CNN, Fox News, NBC News as a news source online. What this means is that more people are getting their news from Facebook than from news channels. Than from your News 12 or CNN or ABC News. Yeah. So this means that whatever is on Facebook, people are taking very, very seriously. So that's, and again, I'll get to as to why and the ramifications of what you do on Facebook and how it can or could potentially haunt you. So you got to be really careful about what you put on Facebook. This shows, I think I mentioned this earlier, so I'll just breeze through this, but the top two most visited platforms today is Facebook and Instagram. So people are using Facebook and Instagram almost on a daily/weekly basis, which means that's like really, really heavy usage. So, and like I mentioned in the graph earlier, your audience, and when I say audience, I mean the people that you're trying to impress. The employer, the hiring manager, the people from HR, the HR coordinator that does that phone screen, all of these people you're trying to make a really, really good impression on, so that they are affirmed that you're the right choice and you definitely are the right person because you're in the same place that I'm at. So what's your Facebook strategy? Now all of you are at least slightly familiar with Facebook, right?
Yes.
Right? Okay. So your strategy is that make sure nothing you post on Facebook goes against what you say on LinkedIn or your resume. Because on Facebook, like LinkedIn, it allows you to create a little bit of your work history, where you worked and all that. Now that is something that you might fill out, you may not fill out. But if you do fill out, make sure that it aligns with your resume and it aligns with LinkedIn. Because very often, and this can be a very unfortunate error if it happens, because as you know, employers value above everything else is integrity and honesty. So even if it's an oversight or an error or a mistake, if they notice that on Facebook it's something, LinkedIn is something, your resume is something, and these three things are not the same thing, they're going to think that maybe you're lying, or you're being fraudulent, or you're being dishonest, or even if it's an honest mistake or an oversight, you forgot to update it or whatever. So you have to be really, really careful. If you choose to update it, then you got to stay on top of it. Because if you don't, it could potentially hurt you. And also use Facebook responsibly. Just like you see in the beer commercials, they say drink responsibly. So similarly, you should use Facebook responsibly as well. Now, I don't know if you heard about this, but there was this news story, I think it came out yesterday or the day before. The news story was that, I don't remember the state, but I think it was maybe Milwaukee or something, where there was this woman who was selling peanuts in the baseball game or the NFL game. Yeah, she was selling peanuts, and she was great at the job. She was in this job for 5 years or 3 years. She was the top seller of the people that sell you peanuts or Cracker Jack and stuff in the game. So she was really great at that. She became even famous for the way that she said, "Get your peanut, get your peanut." Like she said something. I obviously can't do that because that's not what I do. But she was really good. She was really, really good at her job. I just want to impress on the fact that she was good at her job. She was the one that was most productive in her role. She was the top performing person on her team. Now that person, she said something on social media in her private time when she was not on the job. She said something on social media, something to the tune of like white supremacy or something, She said something about, I think that, America should stay white or something really silly like that, She said that, and the company found out, and they fired her
immediately.
They fired. So this means that just because you don't do something, whether you do it when you're at work or when you're off work, that's immaterial. It doesn't matter. It matters as to what you're putting out there. You know, the time of day or night when you put it out there doesn't matter. What you're putting out there does matter. You know, so like this, you know that saying, right? What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. And that's not the case for Facebook. What happens on Facebook stays forever until you remove it. So whatever, like if you put some crazy pictures on Facebook, that could question, you know, that could put you, you know, under like suspicion, or they could question the kind of person you are. You know, and I'll get to a few, you know, examples as well.
What if you have your Facebook hidden, where you only show it to friends, and you're only friends with your friends? Are employers able to somehow get into it and look at it?
Usually not, but you know, as you know that Facebook is also evolving as a platform. It's changing and morphing and metamorphing like pretty much almost every month. So what used to be the case last year isn't the case today. So what that means is even the privacy settings on Facebook have changed tremendously, and they continue to change. So even if, you know, your page is per se private, but it's possible that if somebody searches on Facebook for something, it could pull up your post even though it's private based on what's in the post, you know. So for example, I'm not saying that you would say anything like this, but let's just say, I'm just making this up, people.
Right.
Just making this up. Okay. So let's just say that, oh, by the way, what's your name?
Wendy.
Wendy. Hi, Wendy. So let's say now Wendy has a private Facebook page. It means that only her friends can see it, and I think only the friends of friends can see whatever she posts publicly. That's usually what the setting is on Facebook. Now let's just assume, again, I'm saying assume, okay? I'm assuming, I'm just making this up, this is make-believe, okay? So let's just say Wendy posts something on Facebook, has an opinion on something, you know? And let's say that thing is either something related to the government, something related to President-elect Trump, or it could be anything, you know? But let's say that, and Wendy is, you know, looking for a job, or she's looking for a promotion, she wants to get into senior management, you know, she wants to enjoy life, right? I mean, that's what it's about, right? The pursuit of happiness. So now it's possible that on Facebook, if somebody types a certain keyword, that your post could come up if that keyword was present in your post. Even if your post was, let's say, intended to be private for
I've
that close
noticed
group.
if you type in a keyword, all these strangers posts will come up, people that I'm not linked to.
Right.
Same thing with you.
Right.
When you post yours.
Yeah, that's true. And so the reason, so I don't know if you know this, but Facebook is, like I said before, Facebook is evolving like crazy. And it continues to evolve, and part of that evolution is that it's competing with Google, it's competing with YouTube, it's competing with Craigslist, it's competing with Amazon, it's competing with all these guys. And what that means is that all these features of these different properties are now on Facebook. So Facebook, because it's so huge, it's got more users than there are people in China, which is more than 1.2 billion people worldwide. So that's like a massive chunk of the global population. Okay, so all those people are plugged into Facebook, and because of that, Facebook makes more money from advertising than Yahoo. And this happened not now. This happened back in 2004. In 2004, Facebook advertising eclipsed Yahoo. And we know Yahoo was one of like the big, major, like portals that people would go to read just about anything, weather, horoscope, sports update, news update, your Yahoo Mail, Yahoo Messenger, etc. All of that. So it was even bigger than that. So this just goes to say that Facebook continues to evolve, and you need to be really careful as to what you put out there. Now, if you want to take a stand, again, I'm saying that you can do whatever you want. We're still living in a free world. You can do whatever you want. But whatever you do, make sure you put some thought into it, and it's something that showcases you in the best light possible. So so you got to be really mindful about anything. Like even if you're at a party and you're having a good time. So make sure that good time just stays there and doesn't kind of get posted publicly on Facebook or doesn't get streamed on, like Facebook has a streaming service too. So if you can record anything, you can like live stream it.
Yeah.
You can live stream on Facebook, you can live stream on YouTube. So like all these things you can do, and most of them happen just from your phone, because everybody uses their phone all the time and everything is based on the phone. So that's just something to think about. Sure.
I had a situation once where I have a friend that she worked as an associate in jobs, and then she was, sending me messages back and forth, and then all of a sudden on my Facebook, it said that I was doing the same type of work and I worked for the company, and I said, where did this come from?
Right.
And I asked her, did she post that? And she said no. So I notified them, and it took them some time, approximately maybe a week before it came down. But I didn't post that, and I never worked for the cause.
Right.
And I asked her, you sure you didn't put, it was the exact same information that she had. I don't know where that came from.
Right. So sometimes it happens that, like even your access to Facebook should be kind of protected. So you shouldn't let just anyone, use your phone or your computer or things like that, because then anyone can just do anything with your profile, and even you wouldn't know about it,
But I didn't give my phone to anybody.
No. I mean, maybe it could have happened at her end. Maybe somebody wanted to play mischief or wanted to have a laugh and just said, hey, let me just do this. Let's see what happens. Or, I mean, so it could also be not her fault directly, but if the access, if let's say the password, saving the password was disabled in her, let's say, browser.
Right.
I mean, it usually is enabled for most people because it's easy, and which is why if anyone using the computer would automatically log in without actually having to put in the username password, just from a security standpoint, I'm just saying. But so it's possible. I mean, it's not beyond the realm of possibility, is what I'm saying.
Right, it was strange. I just thought that was so strange. She said that she had a neighbor once who told her that she could stand 2 feet away from her and get information off of her cell phone without her knowing.
Right. So yeah, ma'am, you had a question?
Yes, I have a big problem. I'm old school. I really, like all my kids, my grandkids, everybody on Facebook, and I just have a really big problem with putting my stuff, putting anything that I feel or think about or want to do out there in the world like that. And I feel that's going to really hold me back, because I really do not want to. I'm just really afraid of putting myself out there like that. I mean, putting any of my information, because I'm really afraid of it.
Sure. So I mean, that's a very, very valid concern. I must say that's very valid.
That's going to hold me back, though.
I mean, I would say yes and no. I would say if you're not on Facebook, it's not the end of the world. But I would say you should be on LinkedIn, because at least from the job search standpoint, that helps. And with LinkedIn, people know that people using LinkedIn are all serious people. They're there for a reason, and that reason is either business networking, job searching, or something related to that, because that's what LinkedIn was originally created for. It was originally created as a platform where employers and job seekers could directly interact with each other without any intermediate layer that exists with, like a Hot Jobs or a Monster or a Career Builder, etc. Because most people think that you upload a job on a Career Builder and then it goes into that black void and then it's gone. You don't know what happened to your resume, right? You don't know. But on LinkedIn, you have a direct access. It's almost like you're emailing somebody directly.
Okay.
And you're responding to them whenever they talk about, that they're looking for someone. So it gives you that direct access.
Okay.
So I would say, if you don't want to be on Facebook, that's absolutely fine, and maybe it's a good thing too. But I would definitely, recommend to you that you should try and connect to LinkedIn. And Hempstead Works, it's a great resource. They have many classes that helps people on getting familiar with social media, how do you create a certain profile. I think they have a class on how do you create a Facebook profile. The LinkedIn is exactly the same thing.
Okay.
They'll help you on how do you set up your email online, things like that. So you can get into it, take baby steps, and that's absolutely
That's what I
fine.
have to do.
That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. Don't worry about it. Sure.
From the beginning, LinkedIn was always all for business, and that's how I always use it. But I started Facebook in 2009, and I think just about everybody was using it just to socialize. And I don't post anything that I wouldn't want an employer
Right.
to, I mean, not that I posted for them, but
Right.
I don't post anything that would get me fired.
Right.
I don't like that they mix the two, because I joined it to socialize, and most of my friends did too. We like to kid around on it and stuff. I'm not acting like a business person on Facebook.
Right.
So how do you keep the employers from using that as a source of information now? Because it's my personal life.
Yeah, I know. So, that's like a very, like kind of like a tricky question, because, like just like in this news item that I shared a couple of minutes ago, the woman got fired from a job that she was excellent at. She was excellent at her job. Excellent. She was like the best of the best, literally. And she was the best of the best 3 years in a row. But in spite of that, she got fired because she said something really negative on social media.
And
On,
how
private
did they
time.
find out? How did they find out?
And so she put it on there.
It's out there. Once you put it on there, it's out there.
She
It's
put
out
it
there
on
for
there,
anybody.
and
It's
what
there.
she said was
Anybody
bad,
can see it, right?
definitely. But was it a co-worker or
Doesn't matter.
No, she
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
She
There's a
posted
lot
on
of places
Facebook
that
and
check
Twitter.
their staff's Facebook pages
Yeah.
periodically. Every 3 months or so, they go in, they check everybody
That's
that works
what I
there.
don't like, because it's your private business. Like, of course, I don't
But
post
you can't.
anything making
We might not like it, but we can't
offensive
change
statements.
it. We might
but-
not like it, but we
Anybody
can't
can
change
change it. That's what I
it.
feel. Anybody can anything they want. I don't want that.
You
It's out
might
there
not
like
like
that.
it,
That's why I'm
but they can
scared.
change.
Just
They
like-
they
For
can't change
instance,
it.
around the elections, a lot of people were talking about politics, and they either voted for one candidate or the other, or hated both of them, or whatever. And theoretically, an employer could see that you chose the candidate that
Let's say he didn't agree with
Yeah,
it.
so those are the things you don't discuss on Facebook.
Right.
Just don't.
That's true. I mean,
There's a time and a place for everything, and it's the same. Facebook is like that. You have children in the room. There's certain things we're not going to talk about, and it's the same thing with Facebook. There's just certain things you're just not going to do. As when it first came out, my daughter was a teenager.
right.
Okay, and I remember, saying to her, I don't want to, and I would see friends of hers at parties. They're smoking pot, they're drinking liquor, they're doing all kinds of stuff. If I see this on Facebook, some craziness like this, you is dead. Eat. Okay,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
that goes with you forever.
Right.
You can't take it away. You
Right,
can't take it away,
right.
and it will hurt
Careful
you.
what
When
you
you
do.
got, you're sending kids to school to get masters and stuff. Come on, you get ruined by something crazy like this. It's
No,
just
that
not.
I understand, because that's illegal
So,
too. But like, if
it's-
you
it's
you
not
just say
illegal
your
for the
opinion
employer
on
to look
something
for it.
that's not like, which is just your right as an American citizen.
But it's a time and a place,
So
and Facebook ain't it.
So maybe the alternative to Facebook maybe could be, like a messenger like WhatsApp,
Simple as that.
Yeah.
Simple
So
as that.
WhatsApp just in between, it's 100% encrypted. It's also person to person in the WhatsApp group. So maybe that could be a better place or forum to
Yeah,
discuss
WhatsApp.
things
Talk
like
about
that, as opposed to
Yes.
something like
Yeah.
Facebook.
Yeah, but
I had a question.
I can talk on the
Get
phone.
off of Facebook.
Absolutely.
I started an account many years ago, and I never touched it since, but I'm still on it.
Right.
Other people can put stuff on there, can't they?
It depends on your privacy settings.
I probably didn't put it.
Right.
But how do I close it? It's right.
There's a way that you can. If you go into your settings, but you have to look right at the bottom of the page, because Facebook, their business is from advertising.
Yes.
Advertising means users. Users means active people that have logged into the service. So any person that removes their service is kind of like taking a bite out of their potential revenue. So they'll always make it a little bit convoluted as to how you can delete your account. But you can delete it. It'll be like right at the bottom of the page in small, tiny
Print, delete.
And then when you click it, they'll say, "Are you sure?" Then you say yes. They'll say again, "Are you sure?"
Yeah.
Then you click
They
it.
don't
and
want
probably
you to
say
get
again,
off.
"Are you sure?"
Does that wipe out your account?
I would say the best way to do it is if you have posted anything that you have posted, you should first delete that. And after deleting it, if you then delete your account, then everything gets wiped. Because then it won't be searchable anymore. Because that page that was posted on doesn't exist.
Can you start over again? If you could like swipe it all out and start over again, can you do that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so like you were saying, what you said, you hit the nail on the head. You were like bang on. You were right on the money.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah.
Whatever she said, you could take it to the bank. You know? Exactly. She said it best. And so it basically means you should use Facebook responsibly. Feel free to go wild in life, but just don't post it to Facebook.
Right.
Keep it to yourself. Keep your keep your private life private. You know,
Yes.
because Facebook is not private; it's public.
That's for
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Sure. Like this here and over here,
Yeah. And you need to be careful about posting company dates on Facebook, especially if there's a chance that they may not match on LinkedIn. Like I said earlier, everything needs to align with each other, especially if you choose to, if you're one of these people that really wants to fill out every single thing on Facebook. If you're that person, then make sure the dates align. If you're not that person, then you have nothing to worry about. So somebody somebody applied for a job that we posted, and like you rightly said, we checked out the person's Facebook page, and this is what we saw. So
Turning up all the time.
these kids, boy, they be like, oh, they take a little alcohol, they told it. I said, what are you doing?
They're not looking for a job.
What? They'll be like posted with their little glasses in there at the club, and they're like.
So I mean, I would say this. So first of all, there's a picture. Like having one picture is one thing. If you're an artist or you're doing photography, I mean, you could defend it, potentially. But if you have like 10 pictures about it and the pictures aren't that good,
Yes.
they're not artistic, from public, sense of what an artistic,
Right.
portrayal of anything looks like, then people are going to think that, I think, because nobody necessarily wants, because see, perception is reality, So even if you're the best at your job, but you still have to maintain that facade of compliance.
But what happens with this right here, I would say, if I was an employer, okay, I see all this, all right, so I hired the person anyway. But every Monday, they ain't coming to work. Or they late. Every Friday, they calling in after they get the paycheck. Hey, this is not good. And in a few minutes, I'm going to be saying, I'm sorry, I cannot keep you here.
Exactly. Because New York, like other states, is a employment at will state. It means that you can be hired or fired for any reason or no reason. Or no reason. So it's like an employer doesn't really need a reason to fire you. But if you do stuff like this, you're kind of making it really easy for the employer to say, you know what, I don't think it's going to work out.
This ain't going to work.
And so it's like whether it's pictures of like party pictures like this, or whether it's like some other picture which is using very colorful language, So I would say just just be responsible, because would you want your employer or your boss to see this? I mean, again, what you're listening on your iPod, iTunes, that's fine. If you're listening to it, that's fine. You're blasting it in your car, that's fine. That's fine too. But you don't want those kind of like gangster lyrics to come up on Facebook. I mean, keep your opinions to yourself, essentially.
Yes.
That's what the, let's say, moral of this.
Even though it's a free country and you can say what you want,
right?
But when you say these things, it hurts you, and people don't realize when they say it. If you're looking for a job and you want your employer to think a certain way about you, this is not the way.
Exactly. So that was, I thought I'd share this just to kind of like bring to light as to what am I talking about. Moving quickly on to, so what's your Twitter strategy? So Twitter is another social media like Facebook, but it's different in the sense that Twitter is what is called a micro-blogging platform. It means that each post is limited to, I think it's 126 characters or something like that. So it's essentially just a sentence or a sentence and a half. And that's basically what it is. But Twitter, like Facebook, it has evolved a great deal over the years. On Twitter, you can upload pictures, you can upload video, you can link to pictures, you can link to video. So just like, like in the earlier picture, if you want to show that, guys gone wild type pictures for a party that you attended, you had a fabulous time, great. But just keep it to yourself, Because if you don't keep it to yourself, it could hurt you. So as far as using Twitter, you need to create a Twitter account. You need to start using it to get comfortable with it. Like I said, baby steps. You don't need to go all crazy about it on day one. Just start getting familiar with it. Start using it little by little. And what's the way that you can use Twitter to your advantage is start following companies that you'd like to work for. So let's say if you want to work for, I don't know, let's say GM, or you want to work for Apple, or you want to work for Microsoft, or any company that you can think of. Or even if it's for government, if you want to work for New York State, or anything like that. All of these entities have a presence on all social media, and they regularly post job openings on these media as well. So if you're on this platform and they post a job, chances are that you're in that 1% of people that know about it. And if you apply, as you know, early bird gets the worm. So if you apply, you're instantly in top consideration for the job, as opposed to other people that didn't know about it. So that's the benefit of, even if you don't use Twitter too much as far as posting stuff, but you can at least use it to find stuff. That's kind of like using it cautiously. Exactly. That's right. That's the word. And follow companies that you like to work for and engage with them. Especially if engage means if they post a news item, they won an award, they won a grant, they hired 25 more people, whatever the news item is, say, hey, that's great, that's awesome, congratulations. Just engage with them so that even if they're not hiring at that point, later on, they know that, oh, I know this person, we've sort of been in touch with. And that's the way to kind of like have that relationship. Yeah.
I would like to know, what's the difference, like you said, like if you go to a party, and you having a good time at this party, and you post it on social media, what's the difference from doing that than going to a company party and you having a good time, and everybody you working with, and everybody you know that know you see the activities, but you continue to work?
So again, I would say it depends. So when I say it depends, what does it mean? It means that the portrayal of a picture of you or a video of you should be something that complements you as a person and as a professional. So for example, if there's a video of a person that's like this, maybe that's not the best
if everybody's dancing and having a good time, and everybody's dancing at the company party, I think that would be acceptable. Yeah, and I think people will put that on social media. But everybody's there, so everybody's having a good time. Nobody's drunk, falling down. Nobody's, doing all of that. So it's it's not what you do, it's how you do it.
Exactly.
Same thing.
And like she said, it's all about being conservative. It's about being conservative, and I would say even being paranoid to a certain extent. You got to be a little bit paranoid.
You don't know who's watching you, or you don't know
who's looking.
Right. She's absolutely
pretend
right.
as if.
Exactly.
Everybody's watching.
Exactly.
Sure.
Can I just make a comment that if anybody is leaving here, that they have to check out with their social security number at the front desk, because I see some people might have.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
No worries.
It's all right.
So the idea is that even if you are having a good time, but if you're just being your usual normal self, That is you're having a conversation with a colleague, or even if you're on a dance floor and you're behaving appropriately, that's fine. Like she rightly said. But if you're like, if you're at an office party but you decide to jump on the desk and do some shenanigans, maybe that part you may not want to like capture on photo or video or have that posted publicly. So that's what I mean as far as and also now if you're, that's one, let's say, extreme instance. But even like she said, you gotta pretend as if. So even if you maybe had a couple, 2 glasses of wine or whatever, and you're just having a conversation with someone,
Okay.
be really careful about what you're saying, because it's possible that either that person or somebody in the group could be just filming
Videoing
the whole
it
thing
and
just for a laugh, So just be careful about what you say, because you are responsible for what you say. Because it was you that said it, nobody made you say it, And I would say just be really, really cautious about that. Now the flip side is that people might think that, oh, this guy is a square or whatever. But the point is, in the long run, that keeps you safe.
that's okay.
That's okay, right?
That keeps you safe. Because you got to think about, how you can progress up in the organization, how you meet the minimum requirements of conformity, so that, your hiring manager knows that, okay, you're a responsible person. You're dependable. No matter what the situation, you'll make the right call.
That's right.
You'll do the right thing. So these are all pieces that kind of add to them forming an impression of you as to who is this person. So the next thing is about video. So as you may know, YouTube is really, really big. Video, you see video on YouTube, you see video on Facebook, you see video on Instagram, you see video on Twitter, you see video everywhere. Now, video also is something that you could consider. It's a way to, express yourself in a certain way. And by certain way, I mean there are certain, companies, I want to say maybe 4 years ago that started this. I noticed that there was this company in the retail, hospitality, restaurant and catering industry that kind of required you to upload a video of yourself speaking to somebody, saying like, "Hi, my name is Robert. I'm in New York. I live on Long Island. This is what I like to do." Just kind of like a small little introduction as to who you are. It doesn't have to be some long speech. It could be even 15, 20 seconds. That's fine. But when they see that, they instantly know like a couple of things. They know that, number one, you know what video is. Number two, they see you as a person. They see the face behind the name. They kind of make that connection. Number three, they know that you are familiar with the technology of how to record a video on using your webcam, how to upload it. So they know that you're at least fairly technologically savvy. So all of these things, even if you actively are not thinking about it, all these things add into forming an impression that the employer has of you just by doing a single action. So these are just something to think about. So make sure you have access to a computer that has a webcam, so you can get familiar with tools like Google Hangout and Skype, because very frequently employers now are trying to be more efficient, in the sense that rather than having you come down to their office for an in-person interview, they'll have a video call with you using Skype or Google Hangout, just to save them the effort of scheduling a meeting, going to a conference room, you going there and all that. So they kind of collapse that timeline by just having a video call directly. So you need to be really comfortable knowing what Google Hangout is, what Skype is, what anything else is. And also you need to know about a couple of things, like when you have a video call, you need to be in a place that's not noisy. You need to be in a place that has good lighting so that the person can see you. You need to be, you need to be seated the right way. Like you should not do this on your phone. Even if you have like 4G LTE, still, I mean, the video quality is going to be a little bit choppy. And you should ideally do it on a laptop that's working on really stable, fast Wi-Fi. because then the video quality is not going to be interrupted. It's going to be a good experience for you and the person watching it. So these are just a couple of things to think about. So get in front of the camera, practice. Something that you can think about is creating a YouTube channel, post a couple of videos of you just speaking about yourself as to why you're the right person or the right choice for that role. Where you see yourself in 5 years, what are your top 5 weaknesses, your top 5 strengths, things like that. Like the standard interview questions that you usually get. This is again something, if you want, you can do. You don't have to do it, but I would say the top part of it is like a more important part. Like if you want, you can get creative with your YouTube channel and express your unique point of view on certain things. But like I've mentioned so far, and like everyone has contributed by saying, you need to be really careful as to what that point of view is. You should frame it in such a way that it appears as unbiased and objective, as opposed to something that's really inflammatory and makes somebody feel bad. Because the worst case is, like you said, is that you say something about, let's say, somebody in politics, and your employer disagrees with you like very, very severely. Like they're like absolutely opposite. They couldn't disagree with you more, And we live in a state where they can fire you for any reason or no reason. So you don't want to give them the chance of firing you. You want to in fact give them the opportunity of promoting you, giving you a raise, giving you more responsibility, moving up in the management, being a team leader, things like that. So this is the moving to the job search process, understanding recruiters. So your resume has, let's say, 2 destinies. One destiny is the maybe. Okay.
The other one is not.
The second destiny is not. Okay. So now, how do you ensure that your resume lands in the maybe? Because only if it's in the maybe will the maybe convert to a yes and a definitely yes. So that's usually how that goes. So the 411 on recruiters is that they're extremely busy. They spend literally 5 seconds on your resume. And when I say resume, I don't just mean your paper resume. I also mean your profile on LinkedIn, your profile on Facebook, your things like that. So they spend literally just 5 seconds on it. So you need to make an impact super fast. And they're looking for a well-formatted, easy-to-read resume, which makes their life and their job easier. See, it's all about understanding, getting into their shoes, and trying to be a resource for them. Because you want them to like you. And the best way of them liking you is you making their life easier. It's less stress on them to read your resume, understand it. They're like, okay, yes, this person is a candidate that I can work with. And they're looking for certain job-specific keywords. And again, this is something, these strategies are something that you will use when you're creating your profile on LinkedIn and on Facebook and other places. So, yeah. So let's look at what you should not do from a recruiter's point of view. Or ways to land up super fast in the maybe not destination. So how would recruiters react when you say something like, okay, hard worker, punctual, modest behavior, I have an IQ of 300, I can plan ahead, I'm basically like the best of the best,
Hold on, don't say that.
So like I said, you got to be modest. But saying that is fine, because, like I said, you got to blow your own trumpet. Because if you don't, nobody else
You got to
does.
sell yourself.
You got to sell yourself. You got to,
I would say it's how you say it, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, you have to, have a good self-esteem. You have to have self-confidence. In so much so that you can say something really, even if it's grand, but that's fine. You say something about yourself that's powerful, that's positive. That you know what, you should consider me because I'm the best of the best. And that's fine. It's fine to say that. But would you go for an interview like this?
In my existence, my children, oh my God. Everything, pull your pants up. Oh my God. Who wants to see that? Who wants these kids? I just like
Who's gonna hire you? If I'm looking
my
for
son is 29 years old and he's still doing that. I said,
and it's like
what's wrong
young
with you?
Yeah, it's too old for that.
Oh my God.
My daughter has a restaurant, and it's in the community. It's in Uniondale. And you know, she did it because even after she got it, she was like, "Mom, I want to hire a neighborhood, you know, the students from school, maybe, you know, cashier in the afternoon, or, you know, whatever." And she hasn't been able to do it. If she did it, she had to say the next day, "Listen, I'm sorry. No, you can't come in here in booty shorts. No, you can't come in here with all your boobs hanging out. No, you can't come in here." I mean, come on. You know, the shorts is up to here, and I have elderly church-going people coming in here. You know, it's just not appropriate. I walked in one day and she had to change the video. You know, we have TV. Our young people, it's our future. I work downstairs in the unemployment office, and they come in there, they get their unemployment insurance. They come in there for their meetings. The pants is hanging down. The first thing I say to them is, "Good morning. Could you please put your pants up?" That's the first thing I say. And I say it nicely, but I give them a look. Okay? The body language speaks for me. And he's like, ma'am, I'm sorry. Some of them, ma'am, I'm sorry. Some of them, they don't care. They don't care. They're not going to pull them up. They're just not. It's just comfortable for your drawers to be showing. And it's crazy. It's so bad. You could never get a job going in a place like this.
Yeah, I know. So, I mean, I don't get it, but I mean, basically it's like, you know, even if you're truly brilliant, but you have to be smart about how you present yourself. Even if you really are really good, you're smart.
And I still say it's like a time and a place.
Right.
You're hanging out with your boys on Saturday afternoon, and that's what y'all want to do, fine. But you don't go into a place of business, any place of business like that.
Exactly.
What's wrong with this picture?
So, I mean, on the surface, it's fine. There's nothing wrong.
No.
But let me. So there's some. This was like an oversight from the candidate, where it's like the school date is not defined. You know, it says like 110 to present. So what is this, like a PhD or something?
Yeah, right?
The PhD
They're
is
just
like
still in
5
school.
years, right?
They're just still in school.
I don't know. I mean, it raises more questions than it answers things, right?
Right.
So the question is like you need to be like really careful about what you say, because people are going to judge you based on what you say because it's your words, you know. So you have to be like really careful. You got to think through like everything, and the idea is you need to quell any kind of doubt the employer has in
Even the
you.
first one, 9/11 to 6/12. So how are you going to be at that school till 6/12, and now you're at this school from 110 to the present?
There's an overlap.
Something's wrong with that picture.
Well, that's a bad night or whatever.
No, it's not.
So the summary so far is that you need to use social media responsibly. You know, you need to be really careful about what you say because people take whatever you say really seriously, and you can't be clumsy about it. You know, you have to be. I mean, do your homework.
Very,
Put your best foot forward. You know? Use a one-page resume format. Behave appropriately at all times. You know, stay ahead of the curve and do more than what's expected, not less. So what does a good resume look like? So a good resume, I mean, you can't see it, but I'll break it down into a few components. And again, these are all things that you can transfer onto when you create your LinkedIn profile, your Facebook profile, etc. So the most important thing is the headline. So the headline, it needs to have your name. It needs to state the role that you play. It needs to mention, you know, your work authorization status because we're living in a globalized world. You know, even if you have like an ethnic name, it's possible that, see, the idea is you want to preempt any kind of question an employer has, and you definitely want to land in that maybe cabinet, you know. You want to land in the maybe cabinet, you want to tell them, I'm either a green card, I'm a US citizen, say that, you know, say that with pride. And because that's going to immediately separate you from somebody that's either a student or a tourist or, you know, or somebody else, you know. You also want to mention the LinkedIn profile, because like I said, that's truly invaluable. You also want to mention your cell number. Now, make sure when you're in the job process, you have a cell number that works, your phone is on, it's always charged, you know, and that whenever you get a call, you kind of take it in a place that is not a nightclub, you know, or something like that. Because sometimes I've noticed when I myself, you know, I'm working with prospective, you know, recruits, you know, students, people just getting out of school, that they'll have an interview, but they're in the cafeteria. I'm like, excuse me, really? So, you know, you got to watch out for things like that. Even if you are, let's say, in a very noisy place, step away and try and go to like a place that's less noisy. Make sure that the place you're in has a good cell reception, so that, you know, it doesn't get choppy, because you want to make it as easy and nice for the employer as possible, you know, because you're trying to get into that maybe, because even after you're in the maybe, the interview process still continues based on their impression as to, you know, how they feel about you, based on their when they spoke to you on the phone, when they met with you in person, and things like that. And I'll cover that in a couple of minutes. Another thing is, you definitely want to talk about highlights. Now, like I said, the recruiter spends literally 5 seconds on your resume, so you want to make the impact really fast. And the best way to do that is to have like a really succinct, to the point title that says as much as you can, but says it nicely without, you know, being, you know, too crazy. And the highlights are something that you want to talk about, like you want to use action words like manage, design, and rollout of numerous online properties, or successfully launched prospect email channel for city, or, you know, whatever the case is. I mean, I'm just reading off my resume, but in your resume, it'll look something like this, you know. Successfully managed a team of 10 people that reported directly to me, or had a dotted line, or helped to effectively do the distribution of something, you know, whatever the case is. You got to figure out the best, most powerful way of what you do, but structure it in a way that makes you sound like a manager, that makes you sound like a thinker, like a strategist, you know. All of you, I'm sure that all the jobs that you've done, I'm sure there's some part of it that requires thinking, requires reasoning, requires logic, requires problem solving, requires interaction with people, requires you to be creative, you know. It could be even something that you created a new filing system, and because of that new filing system, you save the company 2 hours every day, you know. Now if you convert that to dollars, that could be like hundreds of thousands, it could be even millions, you know. But you need to think about every single thing like that, because employers like to know that you're a problem solver. They like to know that you're thinking like a problem solver, you know. So you kind of have to present yourself, you know, in that fashion. And it also helps to mention technical skills, you know. So if you have computer skills, if you have design skills, if you know certain things like Facebook or Photoshop or, you know, Dreamweaver, or, you know, anything like that. Anything that's technical, even if it's not directly related to the job, still mention it, because that's like an added thing, that's an added layer for the employer to consider you. Because you may not know this, but let's say you're going in for a role, but because you have several technical expertise, they might choose you over somebody else because you have this added technical expertise, which could help them on something else. You don't know that because you're on the out. You don't know how they're thinking, but you got to really put up the most, you know, like the most prepared front possible on your resume, as well as, like I said, this translates directly to your LinkedIn, your Facebook profile, you know, and other relevant social media. And you always want to list achievements as action points, you know, on your resume. So you want to have, you know, a resume that that says the word achievements, and under that you want to have bullet points of this is what you achieved, whether it was achieved something to do with cost saving, time saving, revenue generation, anything that is something positive. No matter how small you think it is, but you got to spin it like it's positive, because they value that. And you also want to mention the company name and location, like where this was. In this case, I've used NY because it was New York, because I worked in several locations, but in your case, you might want to say the town name as well, whether it was Farmingdale, Uniondale, Hempstead, Glencoe, wherever it was. You kind of want to mention that. You also want to mention your designation, and you got to say this as briefly to the point as possible. And you also want to mention the time spent, So the date when you started, the month and the year. It doesn't have to be the date. You can just keep it as month and year. And either you can say to present or, again the month and year that you were there to. And briefly list, internships and education. And the idea is that if you tell everything about yourself on the resume, then what's left to say when you meet them, Got to leave a little bit, yeah, sure.
If you have a one page, how could you list all that stuff there on one page?
So, as far as your education goes, that's something that you would list at the bottom.
Yeah.
And then your work experience, you would kind of list that, briefly above that.
Most current would it be?
Correct. So the way that you do it is that your most current is the first, and then work backwards from there. Because sometimes I've seen on resumes that somebody will list the last, the first. And I'm like, what? Is this Back to the Future or something? What's going on?
What you're doing last, down.
From most recent. So you gotta work backwards from the most recent. And the idea is to even to your point, even if you have 20 years experience, but kind of summarize it succinctly with that action point, consistently been delivering top quality work for, let's say, this lab for 15 years or 7 years or whatever, and say it in a nice, powerful way. This is, you were here in this company, this was your role there, this was the period that there, and if you had a promotion, then you say that, promoted to this role from this time till this time, got another promotion, successfully problem solved this situation, managed this crisis, helped in speaking with customers and ensuring customer delight, things like that. I mean, I'm not suggesting that you lie or you misrepresent or anything like that, but you have to present yourself in the best possible way. Like I said before, you have to blow your own trumpet, because if you don't, nobody else will. And believe me, other people are. So, I mean, I definitely want you guys to really, really shine. And so what does a good cover letter look like? And again, these are things that you can use in your social media as well, because elements of this you'll see in that introductory paragraph on LinkedIn, for example, or even the about part on your Facebook. So like to a recruiter. So whenever you reply to a job post, what I've learned is that employers value enthusiasm. It may seem silly or superficial, but they like that you're excited to work for them. They like that you're happy to work for them and you've chosen to work for them, or to be in consideration to work for them. So they like that. So definitely mention that when you're replying to them. I'm very interested and excited about pursuing this role in your company, which I found on LinkedIn or Career Builder or wherever you found it. It's because it aligns perfectly with my recent experience of this place, where I was this, where I did this. So just in that first sentence, you mentioned that you're very excited about the role. You mentioned why you're the best choice for the role. You mentioned your experience that relates to the role, and you also say that you can hit the ground running, you're a performer and things like that. So the idea, now I'm not suggesting that your sentence needs to be a paragraph long, but what I am suggesting is to choose your words carefully so that you say the most in the most to the point way possible, while being interesting and saying all the things that that you want to hit, you want to be you want to be clear in your thinking, in your articulation. You want to be excited, enthusiastic, etc. And then, of course, so that's the first paragraph. The second paragraph is usually my background encompasses this. I will essentially be hitting the ground running since I'm a quick study. I can deliver. I'm a seasoned professional. I can deliver results consistently. And then the last is, I look forward to exploring next steps. Sincerely, your name and your key contact information.
That's your actual letter?
Yeah. Thank you. So, this just,
So that's basically the same thing what I just said.
so the email strategy this is another component. Pick one email which is dedicated to your job search. Create an email signature with all your key contacts in that, because when you create the email signature, that by default comes when you're composing any email. So you don't have to do that in addition to responding. That comes on its own. So you spend the time to create that email signature once, and then you have it for all time. Make sure that the email name appears formal and something that kind of makes sense based on your job search. So if you want to do something like jcarey@hotmail.com, that's fine. So I'll show you a couple of names. You tell me which ones you think are fine or which ones you don't think are fine.
Funky pie.
Job seekers to generic.
Womanizer,
There's no better than that.
Oh my God. Robert, the person. Yes, what's that?
Lydia Johnson, that's good.
Dr. Dre.
No.
No, that's the only one Dr. Dre.
No.
You're right.
Oh my goodness.
Hip hop
Oh,
gangsta.
yeah, great,
Gangsta.
No go.
That's crazy.
I've seen people with email addresses like that applying for looking for jobs.
So so for those
Yeah.
in the back,
These are
right,
regular ones for the
Hip-hop
jobs. Oh,
gangsta.
God.
right.
Yeah.
So the idea is that
So I have more than one then, huh?
Right. So I'll read out the names for, or actually, can you? Yeah, one of you. Can I ask you to volunteer to read the names out? For
Joe
those
Carey
that-
at hotmail.com, jobseeker@gmail.com, funkypothead at outlook.com, womanizerxx at AOL.com, Roberto J 2727 at yahoo.com, Lydia Johnson at outlook.com, Dr. Dre at email.com. What email? And hiphopgangsta at gmail.com. So the email is a mistake. It should say Gmail, I assume, but it's wrong all the way around. But
Right.
Right. So the idea is that whatever email you select, even though it's just an email and the email is one that you're using to send the resume in, that email is
Says
also
something.
looked at
Says
by
something.
your, the
Sure.
recruiter, by your hiring manager. So you want to make sure it's not. If you think it's funky and cool, that's great. But it's possible that the hiring manager may disagree with you.
Yeah.
So you want to, again, like she said, very rightly so, you got to be conservative. You got to make sure that whatever you say meets the minimum requirement and conforms with what is considered as serious and professional. And again, the idea is you want to reach in that maybe pile. You definitely do not want to go to the not pile.
to the no.
So that's the idea over there. So how do you ace the interview? Using either Skype or your phone or in person. So the way that you ace the interview is, some of this may appear as common sense, but I'll say it in any case. Do your homework. So that's really important that you do your homework. Research the company's website. You're going for an interview with the company, you definitely want to research that company's website, find out who they are, find out what they do, find out why you want to work there, find out if they have any news, if they won an award, if they, got a letter of recommendation from, the Chancellor of Germany, So whatever the case is, like find out, look at any recent news, and it's okay to cyber stalk them. And this is when you should cyber stalk them, in the sense that you need to look at their website, you need to look at their social media, you need to look at their blog, you need to look at their Facebook, just to see what they're doing, what they're saying, because that will also give you a sense of their personality. It will give you a sense of, you know, their tone, their approach to things, because that will also give it any information that you can get about the company is more intel for you to showcase when you speak to them or meet them, because then they're going to know that you know, and when they know that you know, they kind of feel that you're already part of the team, you know, and that's what you want, because then that brings you one step closer to the next round and then the offer. You know, you want to anticipate their questions and create your answers in advance. You know, you gotta set aside your clothes in advance along with 2 copies of your resume. You don't want to be scrambling at the last moment. You know, have a good night's sleep the night before, be enthusiastic and positive, and smile. And you know, the part 2 is that, you know, people will ask you in the interview, do you have any questions for me? That, while it happens right at the very end, that's very important, because they are actually asking for you to ask them questions, which tells them if you've been paying attention, if you've been thinking, if you know, if you've been processing everything that they've been saying. So even though that's at the very end, that's actually your time to shine. So the things that you should ask them are, depending on how much time they have, is this a replacement position or an additional one? So that tells you whether they're growing or there was a problem with the last guy. How can I be successful here? You know, it tells them that you're actively thinking as to how you can integrate fast and start performing.
Help them.
Yep. Or what are the growth opportunities? What's the work culture here like? You know, what are your expectations for me in the first 90 days? Again, that tells them that you're actively thinking as to, you know what, I'm coming here because I want to do, I want to perform. And this is very important. Based on our discussion, do you have any questions or concerns I can address? That, even if you don't have time for any of these questions, that is a question that you must ask, because that is you're gonna put them on the spot. You're gonna ask them, okay, so, you know, do you have any questions or concerns? They may say something, or they'll say, you know, like, you know what, I think I'll have you meet like another person because there'll be another round or whatever. So when they say that, you know that the interview has gone well. You know, and then also what are the next steps? So, do you have any questions?
I wanted to ask a question
Sure.
before the email.
Sure.
When I had hotmail.com, everybody's telling me to go to Gmail. But I had Hotmail for so long that even though I created Gmail, I couldn't forget what Gmail. Is it wrong to have the Hotmail?
No, there's nothing wrong with having an Hotmail account. The reason possibly why people are saying that you should have a Gmail is because Gmail gives you access to many things at once. You know, Gmail gives you access to Google Talk, it gives you access to Google Hangout, it gives you access to Google Plus, it gives you access to YouTube, it gives you access to Blogger and Blogspot. So all these things are all tied into that one email address. And it also gives you access to Google Talk. So, I mean, in a way it kind of makes sense if you have a Gmail, because it gives you a lot more. It gives you access to Google Docs. Google Docs is the free version of Office online that's completely free. It's an alternative to Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, PowerPoint, all completely free. And you get access to all of that with just that single Gmail account. So from that standpoint, it makes sense to have a Gmail if you see a value in using any one of these. But if it's just for email and email alone, you can stick with Hotmail. That's not a problem. Also, another thing is that another benefit of using Gmail is that if you have an Android phone, all your contacts are also linked to your Gmail. So that means when you change phones, your contacts get updated immediately without you doing anything. So again, that's another benefit.
I have a live interview. I just freeze up. I get all nervous. My heart beating. I feel like I can't remember anything. I mean, I just totally fall apart. I just really bad at face-to-face interviews.
I would say, like I said in the deck, I mean, sleep fairly early or not later than you usually sleep on a regular day. So if you sleep at 10 o'clock, sleep at 10 o'clock. Definitely don't sleep at 12 o'clock or 1 a.m. the night before. You want to be well rested, because if you're well rested, you're not going to be anxious. Your mind is not going to be fleeting and racing as to, oh my God, do I remember everything?
It's anticipating everything, before you say it,
Right.
then I'm, mixed up. And it's
I would say the best thing.
total disaster.
Yeah, I would say just practice with someone. Practice. It can be a little bit kind of sort of uncomfortable, practicing with someone, because it's kind of like you want to just do it when you're asked.
Do it or something.
But if you practice, that kind of it makes those words flow easy and it becomes second nature. Those practiced words become your words, so that when you say it, it'll sound like your words and not rehearsed.
Yes.
Any other questions?
Can you print that out? I would like that the whole presentation.
Right. So, did you sign the sign-in sheet?
Yes.
Yeah. So you'll be getting an actual link to the video of this.
Okay.
So yeah, you can actually see it in the video.
Okay. I like that. That was very, very good.
Thank you.
Sam.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Yes. Back to you? Yeah.
Okay, so I guess if there are no other questions, then I
Are
think.
y'all hiring stuff on here?
Yes.
Do you have a card?
Yeah, it's actually on the table.
This one right here? Okay.
Yeah, actually you could actually like take one and pass on.
I don't know if I saw your name on that card.
And yeah, you can do the same with that. You can take one and pass on.
Okay.